Hi, this is Cale Clarke with thefaithexplained.com. We're here in the holiest site on earth, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem behind me. And this structure contains both Mount Calvary, where Jesus was crucified, which was in a cemetery outside the old city walls, and it also contains the sepulchre itself, the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, where Jesus was buried and where he rose from the dead on Easter Sunday. I want to talk here about evidences for the resurrection. There are so many things I could say to this, but the resurrection of Jesus Christ is one of the most well-attested events in ancient history. We have, first of all, evidence from the scriptures themselves. One of the things that the early Christians put down, of course, in the Gospels was that the first proclaimers of the resurrection were, in fact, women. Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is called the apostle to the apostles, and they do not believe her words, and that's for good reason. Because unfortunately at that time, in a Jewish court of law, a woman's testimony was worth nothing. They were considered completely unreliable. It is highly unlikely that any Jew trying to convince his fellow Jews that Jesus is the Messiah would start with that. You're not going to invent that unless that's the way it actually happened. Mary Magdalene is called the apostle to the apostles, and she's the first to see Jesus after the resurrection. We have an empty tomb that Jesus leaves behind. All parties, even the enemies of the early church, believe that the tomb is empty. The question is, how did it get that way? Of course, the enemies of the church are going to say that the apostles stole the body. This is highly unlikely for several reasons, including the fact that the tomb was guarded by Roman soldiers. But let's just say that they did, just for argument's sake. If they really stole the body, why would they then go to their deaths proclaiming the resurrection of Jesus? Sure, people die all the time for what they believe. Suicide bombers, for example, nobody questions that they really believe in what they're doing. They're willing to give their lives for it. But nobody believes in dying for what they know to be a lie. And the apostles were in a very, very good position to know whether or not Jesus really did rise from the dead. They said that they encountered him. Third thing is the appearances. When Jesus appears in all the resurrection narratives, it is a physical, corporal, resurrected body that Jesus appears in. If they were inventing a story, it would have been so easy to say, we saw a vision, we had a dream, God spoke to us, wanted us to continue the mission of Jesus even though he's in the tomb. That's not what they said. They claimed bodily resurrection. That is a lot harder to prove. And in every one of the resurrection narratives, Jesus, for example, in Luke 24, invites the 11 to touch his bodies. See, he says, see, I'm not a spirit, I have flesh and bones. Go ahead and touch me. Do you have something here to eat? He didn't need to eat in his resurrected state, but he did it to prove that he was corporal, because ghosts don't make food disappear. So these are just some brief evidences for the resurrection that we can consider as we're here at the holiest site on earth, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.